Wow. Hello, hello, hello. A very warm welcome to Africa Rise with Susan West. It has been crazy today. If you notice, we are broadcasting from a different, we're not broadcasting from our usual studio. We had a lot of issues with the internet provider today. The show must go on regardless of whether or not we have the right everything is going according to plan. And of course, I have been so paranoid because my guest today is someone that I cannot even want to flag that she is so kind to stick with us throughout this struggle. But if you join the broadcast, please share parties as we do, so that a lot more people can join in. Greetings, Rahina Bello, early bird. Thank you, Lori Grace Shannon. Thank you for staying. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. It was crazy, but we're here now, and we have Aisha Yesufu in the house with us. You know what we mean when we say in the house. I'm going to try to remember to make eye contact with my camera because the arrangement is not the usual way. So I hope I remember to keep eye contact with my camera. Right. So the topic today is how women can be, the significance of how women can be, the importance of women's involvement in activism for societal development in Africa. That's what we're going to be talking about. And please share the broadcast. If you haven't liked and followed our page, please do so in the West. If you're watching from YouTube, please do well to subscribe. It is also, of course, on Susan West. Subscribe, like, and follow us. Thank you. So without taking too much of our time, let me on screen, I guess, for today. Hello, welcome, Sister Aisha. Thank you for
Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. And sometimes you say there are no bad weather, only bad clothing. And so whatever it is, we just have to go through. That's the resilience and that's the power of we move that we have in Nigeria right now. Thank you so much.
So we just quickly take it. You have been doing this.
So there's a bit of technical delay. So I can't hear anything. It's frozen. I don't know whether everyone else can hear me. So I don't know whether it's from your end or from my own end. Hello, Susan.
Hello?
Okay, so I didn't get that question, Susan. Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah. Oh, thank you guys for staying. Yeah. Yes, I will. I haven't even finished talking. The internet tried to kick me out of the studio as well. Then we didn't hear about you again until lately. First, I want to start with is the reason why a Nigerian you, a Muslim woman like you, I would say, have the courage to want to use your voice in the way that you do in societal, in the issues of our society back home.
Thank you so much for having me today as your guest, and thank you also for staying calm in spite of all the technical difficulties that have gone on. I mean, hopefully we get to have a great show, and the viewers and listeners do get to hear from us. So for me, all my life I've always been vocal, and I don't know how to be any other way. I was born this way, even as a child. It got me into a lot of trouble, of course, coming from a society where a child is seen as one who is not supposed to speak up, who has to respect adults in such a way that even when they're wrong, you have to take it. Even when you see injustice, you wouldn't speak out. But I have never been that person. I've always been the person that will speak, that will make demands. And of course, that has been my whole life. Coming from the fact that I'm a Muslim, yeah, I know the normal stereotype that we have of a Muslim woman and the way she has been made to be by the society, by our customs, rather, not the religion itself, is that, oh, she shouldn't be seen. She shouldn't speak out. She shouldn't speak out against injustice. And that's not the case. We have a lot of brave women in Islamic history who stood, who fought wars alongside the men, who made demands from even the prophet, who times when they felt certain things weren't right, they had their delegation, they sent a delegation to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I remember there's one of the hadiths where the Prophet had said, you know, when women had come together and they felt certain things weren't just the way they were being treated, and they put out a delegation before the Prophet to address certain issues. And he said to his companions, have you seen, you know, how well spoken they are? So women, we've been used to making demands. I mean, talk of that, the name, the life of Aisha radiallahu anha, who the wife of the prophet, who made so much demands, who was so intelligent and so articulate, who even the time of the other caliphs that we had after the prophet had died, was very strong in insisting that justice be done all the time. And so what we normally have this day, and it's a patriarchal issue. You find out that it goes beyond whether religion or not, whether Islam and Christianity, Judaism, and all other forms of religion and across custom, is that we have a society that is absolutely patriarchal, and what they want to do is to ensure that the woman would not speak. And when her right is already being allowed, they will bring in tradition, they will bring in custom, they will tell you, oh, as a woman, you're not supposed to speak. So I don't know, somehow I was able to have my voice all throughout my life. And also I have a daughter, and I've always ensured that she too has a voice. And my children, like I said to them, they made demands on me when they were kids, and now they are young adults. They also make demands. And I've always said to them, they must own their voices, they must speak at every time, and do not allow anyone to take that voice away from them. It's very important.
Absolutely. You must own your voice. You must speak up. You must not let any take away your voice. You know, it's easier than done when you're an African woman. But if a few people have been able to rise above those waters that end up drowning us as women in Africa, you know, but you know, what we want to achieve with today's program is to begin to enlighten and motivate other women to become more vocal, to get more to become more involved in politics, anything that has to do with bringing about social change, development. Recently we've had the young people come out finally, something we thought would never happen in Nigeria, to stand up even in the face of death. They did not run away like cowards. They stood up. How do you think that if the women of the society, if they took on that mantle, how do you think that would have made a difference?
You know, if you look at the issue of the NSAS movement that happened in Nigeria, and the fact that the protests and everything, and the way young people stood their ground, and they refused to be intimidated. The leadership, quite a number of women were in the leadership. Feminist Coalition were amongst those who were driving it. And if you look at the Bring Back Our Girls movement, that for almost 7 years have been making demands for the return of Chibok girls, it was women-led. And if we talk about the they call it Aba riot, it's not a riot, it was a protest against injustice. I mean, it was women-led. I think there's another one again in a peer pickup. If you notice, part of the things that we women are very resilient, and when we're tired of issues, we don't run away. And it's always been moments critical in our nation where we actually had the change that we're looking for. It was women that drove it. It was driven by women. And so it's for me, one of the things that I always say to every woman is that own your space. Don't ask for permission. If they're not giving you a seat at the table, go get your own table and invite them in. And I've said to people, look, yeah, we've talked about feminism for so long. It is time for feminine power. It is time for women to unapologetically begin to get themselves into offices, into power. We've seen the nations where we have more women in governance, how well they have done. Research has shown all of this. We've seen the COVID-19, with the COVID-19 pandemic, the countries that most were able to handle the COVID-19 pandemic very well in the way that it didn't so negatively affect their countries were actually countries that were run by women. And when we leave 50% of the society, 50% of ourselves by keeping women out of the way, there's not going to be development in any country. There's no, whether it's in activism, whether it's in politics, whether it's in sport, whatever it is, you wouldn't have full development because you're working at half your capacity, and nobody gets anywhere by working at half their capacity. And for me, I will always say, you know, the society has this place that it puts women at. The thing is that forget about what society says. Forget about the little voices that were implanted in your head as a woman, where you were told that you can't be this, you can't be that. No, go for what you want. I don't care about what people say. Make sure that you're doing what you know is right. And I always say to people, every one of us, we have a moral compass inside of us that tells us what we're doing, the good thing or bad thing. Let that be a guide. Don't listen to the voices that told you that you can't. In the words of Henry Ford, he said, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Either way, you're right. So those voices that say you can't, forget about them. Replace them with your own voice telling you that you can. And whatever aspect, you go for it and don't ask for permission. You don't need it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you think you can, you can. And if you think you cannot, you cannot. The truth of the matter is that when we are not ready in our minds, there's nothing that can happen. Once it doesn't matter what anybody says, but being ready in the mind comes with also sensitizing people, opening their minds and letting them understand the powers that they have as individuals, especially as women. At this point, how do we get women, you know, wake up and seriously, not just one woman coming and making an impact and the others are looking for her from behind. We galvanize the strength that we have as women in our African societies in today's situation in Nigeria at the moment, to make sure that we use that power that we have as women to effect change. Because in my thinking, there are certain things that the so-called government and military, whatever powers they have or apparatus they have, they cannot up and use these things against women. So when we understand these powers that we carry, how do we begin to galvanize that's become more effective, and so that the government will know that we are there?
Well, I think the most important way to galvanize women, first and foremost, is by action. And every one of us knowing that we have our circle of influence and that whatever we do, somebody else is watching, and getting strength and courage from that. That's very important. The other thing, of course, is by sharing. Share the knowledge we have, empower other people so they become empowered to get things on. And as much as possible, like I always say to people, when you teach other people, when you share what you have, you tend to gain more, you tend to understand more. So it's very important. But most importantly, it's also the financial aspect of it. Women need to know that they have a right to be financially independent. A lot of women are sort of like emotionally blackmailed from actually owning their own financial independence, from actually being financially independent. And they think, oh, you need somebody to take it. No, I have always said that we must be deliberate. For example, like I mentioned earlier, I have a daughter who is 18. She's going to be 19 in December. That's next month. And I've been deliberate in bringing her up to know that the only person she needs to depend upon is herself in terms of her finances or everything. I never, as growing up as a child, I hated the situation where they would say to me, oh, your husband will be the one to take care of you. No, I wasn't going to bring my daughter up to say any person was going to take care of her. She needs to take care of herself. So with that, it helps in a way for you to own your voice. It helps in a way for you to have to own your own space. And so financial independence is very important. And for me, it's one of the things that I love to do. I love teaching financial independence. I financial literacy. Sorry, I love teaching financial literacy, and that sort of helps people to be able to own their voices and know they can. But most importantly, it's when they see other women daring, when they see other women doing it, when they see other women who can do it, and they begin to ask themselves, if she can do it, I also can do it. And so it's very important we lead by example. We do not. I see a lot of women who think that by bowing down to patriarchy, maybe they will get some kind of crumbs, tokenism and all of that. No, that's not the way it should be. Stand your ground. You don't owe anybody any explanation. I mean, just be you. The society sort of like puts this burden on women, and they put us on a like pedestal and expect you to be the one to do all the good things. I mean, your male counterpart will behave badly. Nobody's going to see anything about it. But the little thing that a woman will do, they will come after you and say, no, ensure that doesn't happen. Ensure you don't allow that. Ensure that you don't give into that, their emotional blackmail, where they want to put you in a corner and say, oh, this one. For example, we've had a few women in government who have gone into office and then they were corrupt. And the first thing as a woman, when you're coming out, either you want to run for election or something, they are saying to you, oh, we gave women, so and so women that were given chance were corrupt. I'm like, hello, what about the millions of men that have been corrupt? What about the thousands of men that have been there that have been corrupt? Have that denied you as a man going in there? Why is that now a yardstick for another woman? And one of the things that normally happens a lot, which unknowingly women sort of like allowed to it, is when women are put with one tag. I mean, a woman, so we are all different and everybody have their own way of doing it. Like I said, when they bring that corruption issue, I always say to them, they try to say, oh, the Dezani was corrupt. I'm like, for every one Dezani, there are thousands of Dasuki. So why is he not affecting you and you want her to affect me? So that she's a woman, I'm not going to carry the burden of whatever it is she committed. She's an individual and she should be held accountable for what she has done, even though it's alleged, or the accusation, both of them, since they haven't been found wanted by a court of law, they are still allegation. So hold that person. So do not allow yourself. Sometimes you find women are coming out to do something, they will say to you, oh, this woman has done so and so. No, for every woman that have done so and so, there are thousands of men that have done so and so. And the men that have done it, it hasn't affected other men. So don't allow anybody else to affect you. And most importantly, that thing where they say, oh, women don't help women, it's the biggest lie on earth. Is the biggest lie. Because the only way they say that, so as women, we be suspicious of each other, we keep away from each other. They know the power in our unity. When I say to people, I say, if they tell you women don't help women, forget about individual. Have you ever seen a woman stain herself with menstrual blood? I mean, sisters, you don't know, we just come from nowhere and, cover it. Have you ever seen a woman trying to give birth? People you don't know, sisters who just come up. So it's a huge lie when they say that women don't help women. Yes, there are certain times that certain individuals might not help others. They are individuals. They are not the whole gender women. The same way that certain men do not help other men, and nobody ever says that men don't help men. So these are some of the things that have been implanted in our heads. We must be deliberate in removing them from our heads. Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, when you were talking, all that came to my mind, we are suffering into women. When you come to the Western world, it's like, as a Black person, you have to do 100 times the counterpart to be able to be excelled the opportunities or to even succeed. When it comes to Africa, being a woman is where but you mentioned independence is key. I want you to talk to Nigerian women. I want you to talk to, I lived in Nigeria most of my life. So there's a little bit of when people, like you said, teaching your daughters how to be financially independent. A lot of young girls grow up in Nigeria not having it in their minds as they're growing up. They can also earn a skill that will give that will give them on that platform to earn money as much as the men are looking forward to growing up to becoming their wives Now, if we begin to sensitize, educate these young girls, what you should be looking up to is not becoming wife, somebody's concubine, some wealthy man's girlfriend. And we begin to teach them they can become financially independent. We're not going to be able to get women like you, women like to who can raise their hands, who are confident in themselves and have a voice.
For me, I would say to the Nigerian, both young women and older women, girls, anyone that is watching, I would say to you, you have a right to your own wealth and you should own it. And nobody should make you feel ashamed or guilt trip you over the fact that you have your own money. Go for your own financial independence, learn about financial literacy. I mean, forget the voices that were implanted in your head that, oh, it's your husband that will take care of you. Oh, it's this. So, like I keep saying, for me, because I have a daughter that I deliberately brought up in a way that I didn't like the kind of upbringing I had, where I was being told that, oh, it's a man that will take care of you, that will marry you and all of that. And I've never said to my daughter, oh, when you get married, a man will take care. No, I've always said to her, she's the one to take care of herself. She's the one that needs her own money. And that's part of the thing that like right now, she's in university. That's what she does. She doesn't care about what another person has. And I think that's very important. You see, we live in a society where people will say to you that, oh, as a young woman who is not married, you should not buy a car. That if you buy a car, no man is going to ask for your hand in marriage, or many people will be scared away from coming to you. Any man that is scared from coming to approach you because you have a car is not a man that is fit for you to marry. Drop him. Like I said to people, I said, my daughter is going to drive the most expensive car in my house, so that if you have that kind of mindset, please stay away. You are not the kind of person that she's looking for. And the thing is that for me, I always say, look, there's nothing that a man achieves that you as a woman cannot achieve, whether to be a billionaire, whether to be on Forbes list, whatever it is, and go for it. But most importantly, like, it's about the mind. We have to remove all the things that we were taught, and then we have to be deliberate. You find out that even when women are working, because of the mindset where they say, oh, they can't own certain things, or they are not seen as the one that will be rich. There are some women who are even ashamed to even show whether they have more wealth than their husband, or they're the ones that are taking care of their families. Our mothers did that. We need to throw that away. Our mothers would spend their money. They will work hard. They will buy something for us, but they will pretend that it was our fathers that did that. I mean, they were guilt-tripped from owning their own wealth. We must ensure that we do not fall for that, and we do not bring up our daughters to also fall for that. And one of I remember about 20 odd years ago, a woman was talking to me, and in her own way of praying for me, she was praying for me that I should be God will make me the first lady of the country. And I said to her, God forbid. And she looked at me, she was shocked by my reaction. And I said, I simply said to her, what happened to me being the president? Why should I be the first lady? Why can't my husband be the first gentleman? I mean, that's because of this mindset that we've been brought up, that everything we have to achieve has to come through our husbands. Most people don't even understand that they can own things. I see a lot of women, you're talking about building. When I'm teaching financial literacy, I'm like, okay, some of the things you need to do are look for passive income, invest your money, save and invest in passive income yielding investment, or businesses or assets that we increase over time. And you find some people are like, oh, my husband is not agreeing, doesn't want me to build. I'm like, so if your husband doesn't want to build a house, what happens to you building your own house? And so go ahead and buy the land and start building on your own property. You don't have to live in the property. Give it out for people to rent. When people are there, that's a source of passive income stream. And what is financial independence? Financial independence is not how much money you have in your account. No, it's how long you can stay without working and be able to maintain yourself. When your passive income can take care of your expenses, then we say you're financially independent. And so it's very important for women to learn a financial literacy and how to grow wealth and own their wealth. You see, one of the things that happened with our parents, our mothers were earning money. They were business women, they were traders, they earned so much money, but guess what? They never invested that money. All their money were used to feed the family, and then they used it to buy wrappers. What do I need a wrapper for? Go and buy land. While our fathers were giving their sons lands, our mothers were giving us wrappers that most of them have gone out of fashion. It takes time before they come back into fashion again. Imagine all the money that they use competing within each other, buying wrappers, which is what people see today. I should be buying all of these expensive bags, yet you don't have assets. Go and buy the land, go and build the houses. So when the fathers are giving the sons lands and houses, mothers also should be able to give their daughters lands and houses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wish everyone listening would take this as the gospel for today and especially the women. There are some men here. I'm gonna salute you guys that you guys are supporting, agreeing with what we're saying, because those are the kind of men we need in the society to collaborate with us to move forward. I'm just gonna take quick reads from some of the comments that have been so far. Rahina Bello says, a woman is strong and powerful. We are strong, be strong, stay strong. Absolutely, we are. And I'm going to take the very, Diane Megway Smith says, a woman rules the world. Without a woman, there will be no world. And of course, Mazi John says, oh, he's in sorry, I'm not going to read that part. Louis Aboyega Jackson says,
Susan,
a strong message that is.
Hello, Susan. I think that for me, personally, I am one person who loves everybody's opinion, and I love dissenting opinion. Insults and praises are the same thing to me. I say to people, insults and praises are people's opinion. They are not your reality. So don't be bothered about what people would say. And, sometimes people, they insult me and they call me a prostitute. I'm like, yeah, I've been in the business for 22 years. I'm married to a man. The only thing that I do exclusive customer. And so I don't feel so. Let's not get bothered about what people will say, whatever it is. Honestly, for me, just read it out. It's okay. He's airing his opinion and he has a right to it. And then the only thing is that we are here, we own this space, we have our big mouth, and we're going to use it, irrespective of whether he approves or not.
Yes. Yes, he wasn't even being insulting to you. He was insulting the country, Nigeria. So I didn't think it was relevant enough to read. And Louis says, we are old, but without a woman in it, we will be absolutely nothing. So, Esosa, I see you. She says, I love you are educating women now. Women are the forces of positive change. And I have Washington saying, having invariably taken the Rosa Parks image in West Africa to sustain the aim, your thoughts about a woman to captain it to calmer waters instead of men and their abysmal failure since.
Hello, I think I missed the question, right?
Yeah. Washington Stanley says, having invariably taken the Rosa Parks image, he's referring to in West Africa, to sustain the aim, what's your thoughts about a woman to captain the nation's ship to calmer waters instead of men and their abysmal failure since 1960?
For me, I think Nigeria is ready and should be ready for a female president. And when we are talking about a female president, we are not talking about just in terms of tokenism or just the gender. No, a female that is competent, capable, with capacity, with character, that has character, competence, and capacity. And we have quite a number of them. I would mention top of my head, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. And in 2019, I was part of our presidential campaign. This is a woman who has empathy. This is a woman who has character, who has competence, who has capacity, whom the whole world knows. And she's a no-nonsense woman. And she's someone who believes in values and would never negotiate her values. And she has courage to tread on grounds that people don't want to tread. And that's what we need in Nigeria right now. We need people with courage. We need people that will look at the system and shake the system from head to toe. We need people that are courageous, that would not cater to what are certain, whether they call them cabal or whatever it is. And I think one of the things that people need to understand, when people say, oh, Nigeria is not ready for a female president, I'm like, okay, Nigeria is not ready for competent leadership. Because even when we look at the homes, we look at our houses, and we look at our families, who are the ones that actually take care of the family needs? Who are the ones in terms of when we have issue of problems, whether financial or whatever, who are really the backbones? It's the women. The women will do anything to ensure that the home works very well. And I always use example for people to say that, look at the two sides of the country, the southern part of the country and the northern part of the country. We have street children everywhere, whether in the south or in the north. But in the north, the number is so much, especially with the Almajiri system. And what normally you will notice, if you look at it, is the fact that women don't have as much financial capacity in the north like in the south. In the south, women are working, women are trading, they are going out, they're looking for money, and they end up ensuring that their children stay in school. But in the north, most times they are forced to stay in powder. They don't get, they stay out. They're not doing business. Only a few of them are able to do that. And at the end of the day, they don't have the capacity to ensure their children are not thrown out in the street. So that's the power of women. And I think, like Dr. Obieze-Pesili said, that leadership is gender neutral. It's dependent on the capacity of the person. And we have good women right now who can lead. And I think it is time. We have, for 60 years, men have ruled. We haven't gotten anything out of it. It is time that we're not just a woman, but woman that has capacity, that has character, and that has empathy, that is competent, and that has always spoken on Nigerian issue, not when it is convenient, but even at the detriment of anything. She has stayed on Nigerian issues. She has fought for the Nigerian masses. She has always been there. And I think it is time. And women everywhere, please, stop being ashamed. Stop staying back. Stop staying back and say politics is, they say politics is not. No, we need to be in politics. We need to run for offices. Everyone, if you know you have the capacity and you can give service, please come out and be there. Yes, the money might not be there as much as a lot of people, because what we have, the kind of politics we have, many people loot our collective wealth, and then they use it to pay. They impoverish people, and then they use it to buy votes. They weaponize poverty. They weaponize illiteracy. What we will have to do now is that we will put our money where our votes are. We will donate to candidates that we know have competence, character, capacity, and we'll get them into office. When we get them into office, we will hold them accountable and ensure that they deliver good governance, accountability, and transparency.
Right. My church, I attend my church in Abuja. The founder of the church, I leave his messages, and one thing he said was, while we were busy in churches raising up holy hands and praying, they were turning our daughters, our women, into prostitutes. That's what the Nigerian society did. How did they do it? They weaponized it, strength, having money. They made it in such a way. How did they turn the women, the girls in the society into it's a heavy word. A lot of people don't want to say it, but we are living in a country, a system where it is almost impossible for you to get up as a woman, regardless of what your credentials are, that some man will not want to bring you down to that level of taking you to a bedroom before certain things are allowed for you to be elevated. So if we don't get to the point where these girls begin to understand that no miracle is going to until you are empowered. Now we're getting to 2023. The young people are beginning to talk about coming up with a political party because they have seen that the people in the present government, APC or PDP, will never give them a chance. Do you also think that the women keen to plan ahead of 2023 as women as well? Because after all, we have the largest numbers.
Absolutely. We definitely need to plan for 2023 as women. But again, it's beyond the numbers. It's also the issue of power. We have a society, a country where there's systemic abuse of women, physical abuse, social, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, or financial abuse, all the kind of abuses that you can have. It's systemic. It is allowed. It is seen as normal. And then even when you fight against it and say that, no, these abuses are not normal and women should not be forced to go through this harsh treatment, they rather will come after you. So in terms of sexual molestation and everything, it's almost unbelievable. You see what has happened with when we had the Sex for Great investigative journalism that was done by Kiki Modi and others, and was put out in, I think it was BBC, African Eye. We saw the horror where people feel that they have a right to a woman's body, and they're looking at, and even when you say, oh, who are you not to do this? A lot of women have been forced to leave either jobs that they were doing very well at, or certain things, because they were being sexually harassed and the society wasn't there for them. There were no system to protect them from that sexual harassment. And these are some of the things that we need to ensure that the government does something about it, and ensure that women have safe space for them to be able to thrive. So it's not as much as women wanting to use their body, it is the men sexually harassing, and we must call it for what it is. It's a sexual harassment of women that women have had to go to, whether in schools, whether in offices, even just getting a job. Somebody is going to tell you that, oh, you've passed everything. You have the competence, you based on merit you've passed, but somebody feels that he has a right to your body. And this is the start today. I listened to Mrs. Idahosa, who gave during her birthday, she was recalling what had happened of the birthday Idahosa. I can't remember what they call the church now. And she was talking about in I think that was in the 60s. She wanted to enter the Nigerian police. And then she had gone for an interview. She has passed everything. And then the panel said that she had to sleep with them. Can you imagine? That's our mother's generation. You know, that they have to sleep with her. And she walked away. That's what women are going through. Meanwhile, her male counterpart, nobody ever said that they were going to sleep with them. And so this is a systemic thing that has been going on, and we need to scatter it as much as we can. And so on the issue of 2023, of course, women need to start mobilizing. But again, like I said earlier, it's about power and how abuse have gone on. So even though we are more in number, but we have a lot of women who are being controlled by men. So you find a woman will be told that if you vote another party, I'm going to divorce you. I'm going to drive you away. And so because of the fact that there's no financial power, a lot of women are afraid of being driven away from their houses. They're afraid of being divorced, being driven. And you know, apart from even issue of financial power, we have a society that puts a burden on women to be the ones, how do I put it, to hold the house, even when the house is abusive, even when the house it's not worth being in. A woman is seen as, you must die in that marriage. And these are some of the things we need to take away. Like I always would say, for every divorced woman, there is a divorced man. So why are you making it a stigma for the woman and not a stigma for the man? And by the way, there's nothing to stigmatize everybody about. It's two people in a relationship saying that, oh, well, it's been a good time, but we think it's not working anymore. Can we just go away? And people don't just realize that certain times people fall out of love. You can have an amazing relationship, and then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you realize that you're both strangers, or things have moved on, how you have outgrown each other. You still love each other, but you're not in love with each other. And so this burden that people put on, oh, you have to be married. And some people even see it as an insult to a woman, for a woman to be called divorced. I'm like, what's insulting in that? It's a choice. If I don't want to be in a relationship, I won't be in a relationship. And I have a right to say I don't want to be in a relationship. So these are some of the things that are happening. But I totally agree with you. We need to start working for 2023 and beyond.
Right. You know, I have had debates with my who cares to listen. And I said to them, as I am a married woman, but I've come to understand, even as Christians, when instruction, the Bible just said, accept Jesus as Lord and Savior. The Bible did not put one of the things we must do as women is that we must achieve marriage, because to that point where it looks as though if you're not, and you're going to go to hell, but that's not. It's not found anywhere in the Bible. It is a choice. When we get to the point where women begin money, when we have money in our pockets, we can.
Sorry, I needed to do something.
Finally say we are free. The next election comes. You, as an adult woman, you have the power to make a decision. You used to vote PDP and you want to vote APC. You should be able to do it and not be scared that you're going to be your marital home, and that if you're to feed, we should stop allowing ourselves to be victimized as African women. Enough is enough of fun to have pity on you. You know, that mentality has to change. And again, let's go to issues going on right now. We have seen what happened at the Lekki toll gate, seen all the lies that have been going on, everything they've tried to do. And I'm wondering, the evidence is right there in the face of the world. What are we still talking about? You know, the legal processes have to follow. Unfortunately, the panels that have been set up, I read somewhere they've gone to try to look the morgue at the military hospital or something, and they were not allowed access.
Yeah.
Now, do you really think that the process that is going on right now will actually amount to anything, if at all?
So before I come to that your question, I would just like to talk about where you ended the statement that you had made and the call. So this abuse that women are going through, for most of them, it's not that they want to have it, but you see the number of when you talk about illiteracy, women, it's higher amongst women. Other than in the east, the southeast eastern part of the country is where you have more. It's the boys that we have higher numbers in terms of illiteracy, but every other part of the nation, it's the women. So women are, when you talk about poverty, women are more thrown into poverty. So with lack of education, early marriages, this is what they used to keep the woman down. And you talked about the reference in the Bible about marriage not being a must and all of that. In Islam, it's the same thing too. Marriage is not a must. It's not seen as, there's some things we call farilla and things we call sunnah. Farilla means it's obligatory. You must do it. Marriage is not one of them. Marriage is a choice if you want to. But of course, they say when you get married, you fulfill half of your religion in terms of that. But you see what has happened is that whether this is, it's not about religion or anything. It's about the society. So where you have a right, for example, as a Muslim woman, let me give you an example. I wish many people, when I tell them, they are always surprised. As a Muslim woman, I have the right to breastfeed my child or say I'm not going to breastfeed my child. I probably will have a child and say, oh no, I don't want anything to happen to my breasts. I want them to be perky and everything. I'm not going to breastfeed the child. So it's for the man to go and look for a wet nurse. As a Muslim woman, you have a right to child support. If you're divorced, the husband must pay child support, but it doesn't happen in our society. As a Muslim woman, you have a right to inheritance. And a right to inheritance, a woman gets half of what the man gets. And this is because what the woman gets, it's only for herself. She doesn't have to share with anybody, but what the man gets, he has to share with other people. A woman has a right to her wealth. Nobody, whether family or husband, has no right to their wealth. But yet, it's the same people who are Muslim will not follow these rules. They will bring in their society. So it's about patriarchy. It's about them just ensuring that women are just kept down and are never get to the place. We have to be deliberate in getting out of that and ensuring that financial independence in terms of education, in terms of stopping early marriages and all of that. We keep going ahead with that. Then coming to the issue of the NSAS and the panels that are being set up. I particularly have no hope in the panel, but I have hope in the people. The reason why the panel will work is when we are very deliberate and keep making demands and ensure that they make it work. Right now, there has been a lot of talk about the legitimacy of the panel. because the National Human Rights Commission, it doesn't have a governing council. And people say that without a governing council, there's nothing that will be done about these panels. Their legality will always be questioned. And we will have a situation whereby people will be indicted in these panels, and they will go and even question the legality of that all. Another thing also is that these panels are mostly at state levels. And then the people that are supposed to be, organizations that are supposed to be indicted, are at federal level. So at state level, you don't have any control over the police. At state level, you don't have any control over the military. Of course, that's the reason why they will go to the morgue and they'll be denied entrance to go and check the morgue. And at one time, they were even threatening them. So in case of why has the president not set up like a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where people set up a panel where people will come? And then this is not the first time. There have been a lot of state panels that have been done, that have been set up before. People have been indicted, but nothing has come out of it because the state governors don't have the power to be able to enforce anything. It's at the federal level, and right now the federal level is missing in action. So it's really, you just look at it and like, okay, hopefully why we are hoping for the best, and then you make up your mind to expect the worst, because we've seen this thing repeatedly. There have been lots of panels that have gone on before, and people have been indicted, and those people, nothing was done to them. They are actually currently in service, and some of them have been promoted rapidly within the system, almost as if they are being rewarded for the bad behavior that has gone on. But the most important thing that has happened in Nigeria is that Sorosoke, I hope I got that right, where Speak Up has come out of, and people are being told to speak up, own your voices, ensure that you're being heard, make demands. All of us must occupy and make our offices of the citizen and make demands on governance. Like Dr. Obi will always say, there are two sides of governance, the supply side and the demand side. And people, those that are voted for, supply, and the people who vote for them make demand. And every one of us must ensure that we are making this demand. That's the way we will have it. And then, of course, the other hashtag that came out of the EndSARS movement, we move. We must never give up. We must keep making demands, and we must keep ensuring that the right thing is being done.
We move. Right. I'm going to take more read again. Let me read from someone else. I have Nkosazana in Glovo. She's watching from South Africa, and I think she's with African Union. She says, very true about patriarchy. It is deeply entrenched in society and a systemic way of oppressing women. And I have Opa Jeremiah Tefa says, the problem in Nigeria and Africa generally is we have undermined the ability of women for far too long. Truth is, African men marry slaves, dishwashers, laundry women, cleaners, and on. That's how bad it is. A lot of good economists, lawyers, graders, and policymakers washing diapers as a carer or carrier. Very disappointing. Absolutely true. The African man, from the day he is born, is made to feel that he is king. Nothing wrong with that. Now, what happens is you then bring a male child in your home feeling like he's God, and make the sister feel like she's to be subservient and be of service. Now you raise a generation of men who will grow up in society to enslave women. Don't you think the onus lies in us as women, as mothers, to begin to also change mindsets that as male children, if we have to change this patriarchal thinking that has not worked for Nigeria, hasn't worked for Africa, to change it, the women, we are the ones who raise the children. Shouldn't we now also take the to also change the mindset of the boys to be able to achieve a society where women.
Okay. So what I would say, of course, is the fact that yes, it lies with us as women. Before I go there, there's something that somebody mentioned and said that most African women are looking for where they will marry. They are looking for cook, housemaid, driver, gardener, security, whatever, all combined into one. And that's what a lot of people do. And there's something that my husband always says. He says, look, some of these men, they are looking for like a woman to rear, like you rear an animal. That's the kind of people they are looking for. So she's just there, she doesn't say anything. You tell her what she needs to do, and then she takes care of your need. That's the way they do, instead of looking for a partner when they are getting married, which was very instructive. And we're actually talking about, especially with the northern part of the country where women are so subjugated. And that was when he said, look, these people think that having a wife is like rearing a person that will just be there for them. So that's one thing. And we have a society where people feel entitled. A man feels entitled. Several times I have people who ask me, oh, how do you manage your house? How do you combine what you do? Not every woman is always asked that. Oh, how do you manage? Or like, why don't you ask men, how do they manage their homes? And I said to them, I said, look, in my own family, for myself and my husband, we don't have societal-based roles. What we have are strength-based roles. So there are certain things that I'm good at doing it, I do it. There are certain things my husband is the one who is good at doing it, he does them. And that's the way we manage our families. Like I said, when we were a young family, and we had, it was just my son, he had just started school. I'm not a morning person, I don't wake up early in the morning. So what normally happens, my husband is the one who takes care of our son, bathe him in the morning, gets him ready, get him breakfast, take him to school, drop him in school, and then I'm the one who picks him up from home. So you see, we are doing things based on our strength, because he's a morning person, he wakes up very early. And I said to people today, in my own house today, I don't even know how they buy the cooking gas. I mean, that's what he does. It's his friend. He organizes all of those things and whatever. And then he never knew how the kids do their homework. It's my own strength. So so this is what happens when you're able to find a partner whom you align with each other. And before I just go on that, and it's always a deliberate act when people are getting married. Don't be in a hurry to get married. Don't be in a hurry because society say you have to get. If you have to be 60 without it, so be it. Get the money, get somebody. You be the one to look up to what we say, slide into their DM and get the person. And when my husband proposed to me, I told him I'm lazy and I'm always sick, and we still got married. And I remember before him there was somebody else in the that had come and was counting me and all of that. I tell you. And so there was this doctor that was, wanted to, go out with me and everything. And then on the Valentine of 1997, he came to me and he said to me, oh, he has bought chicken in his house that I should come and cook for him. And I looked at him and I said, I'm also looking for who to cook for me. I mean, how dare you just wait there and expect me that I should come to your house and cook for you? Hello. And so this is the kind of mindset. Coming back to the next, to the second question that you talked about in terms of we mothers being the ones to change the narrative, I would say 100% it is. I grew up in a way that I knew what I didn't believe because you're a boy, you are more than I am. No, that's the reason why I tell you today, I don't do label. I'm me. And I know I own a space in this world. On the day, I think it was the day of the International Youth Day, I did an interview with my son and my daughter also. So I posted them on both Facebook and my YouTube page. So this interview with my son, one of the things I asked my son, and I said to him, why do you think men have this patriarchal arrogance? And you know what my son said? He said it's because they never washed plates. And as funny as it is, I laughed and I'm like, because he was brought up to know there was no difference between him and his sister. I have two children, a boy and a girl. I didn't bring them up differently. My son knew he had to enter the kitchen to make his food. He knew that nobody owed him anything. My son is 21 today, and he knows there's no woman who was made to come and cook for him. If he gets married, he has to enter the kitchen the same way with his wife. Whoever is at home has to be the one to cook the food. There's nothing like a woman coming in to come and cook for him. So I brought them up in such a way that, look, you don't have, because you are a man, doesn't make you special in any way. You're every human being like any other person. And so he said, these are some of the things that had made him to understand, and not have that patriarchal arrogance and everything where you see maybe because the female is less than you. No. We must begin to change those narratives. Let me give you an example, because a lot of women have been conditioned to believe that they are less of human beings, and that conditioning must be thrown away. My mom came to visit me in February this year. And so she came, my mom and my dad, I brought them over. We spent some few weeks together. They did Valentine and everything. And so in my mom staying with me, she noticed the fact that I wasn't entering the kitchen and everything. I mean, food were being brought in. And she was like, oh, why you've not been cooking? I haven't seen you enter. I'm like, yeah, but there's somebody who is cooking. There's a cook. Their food is being cooked. And she was like, oh, no, you're supposed to cook for your husband because in our society. And I said to her, who are these people who made the laws? And she said, oh, they were made before we were all born. I said, you know what? I'm going to change the laws so that the next generation of women will meet my own laws. And so while we were talking, my husband came back from work. And then, he came to the guest room to come and say hello to my mom. And as soon as he came in, I looked at my husband and I said, okay, your mother-in-law is actually worried about you. And she has something to say to you. And my mom said to him, oh, I'm very sorry. I need to apologize. So my husband was like, shocked, what's going on? And my mom said to my husband, I see that your wife has not been cooking for you. And my husband said, why should she cook? There are people who are cooking. And my mom was taken aback because I don't blame my mom. That's the way she was conditioned to believe that you must be the one to always cook. I didn't condition myself that way. I remember even as a child, they would say to me, oh, you're so lazy. Which man will marry you? Even if they marry you, you will not stay in a man's house. I've been married for 22 years. By April 17th, to be 23 years that I've been married. I have an amazing relationship with my husband. But my mom was conditioned that you have to be the one to slave in the kitchen and put the food on the table. I'm like, no, as long as there's food on the table, it doesn't matter who cooked it. It's cooked. Let everybody go and eat. And that's the most important thing. And the funny thing was that as soon as my husband left, my mom looked at me and said, your husband is the one spoiling you. Because she couldn't just believe that he said to her, why should I be the one to kill? I think it's conditioning. And I think a whole lot of us, we have so much that we should do. And we should begin to do that in ensuring that, most especially with our children, we should bring them up the same way. There's no reason why your daughter should be in the kitchen cooking while your son is playing football. Every one of them should be in the kitchen cooking. Every one of them should be in the kitchen cleaning, washing plates. Every one of them should be out there doing whatever it is they need to do. And let me tell you something. When we are talking about this issue of women being brought down, especially in the African context using Nigeria, it's a systemic thing. Why girls are kept in their houses, why girls are kept in the kitchen cooking, boys are outside playing football. They are outside doing all sorts of things. Guess what they're doing while they are outside? They are bonding. They are forming a group, an association that will take them years. So they begin to bond, they begin to network, amongst themselves. Meanwhile, as women, we are not networking. We are kept in isolation, being inside the house, and you're cooking all the time, you're cleaning plates, you're washing, while your male counterpart is out there doing the things they do. So this networking, as they grow up, they begin to use all of these networks that they have formed. And in terms of when they get there, these are the old boys we had, this is where we grew up. Even when you go into politics, you can come down from your grassroots. But then we don't have those grassroots. And apart from that also, as women, we grow up, we change our surname, and then we lose our identity. You used to be known as this person, and then you get married, and then you get another name, and that's it. People can't even remember who you are. They can't even find you. They're going on Facebook. I mean, our male counterpart, we go on Facebook, find their childhood friends, and begin to, you don't even know who they married and who they changed their names to. And let me even add, like Islamically, you are not supposed to change your name as a woman. A Muslim woman is not supposed to change her name to another person's name. She's supposed to change her name to wife of married. Still, our society, we do it. I changed my name. I wish it for me, although I didn't change it officially. At the end of the day, I just stuck with it. But my older sisters, none of them have changed their name. They still maintain their name. So you find that this issue of disenfranchising a woman, of keeping a woman down, of not allowing her be who she wants to be, is a systemic thing, and we must be deliberate in doing away with that systemic oppression that comes from even your identity. You lose it and you can't be found. Even in terms of networking as children, you're kept away and you're kept somehow in isolation, and you grow up, you don't have a network that you fall back on, even when you're going to things like quality.
Absolutely. Wow, it's been it's been awful. When we begin to try to talk to the actually young men, we're not talking about the older men now, because they say you can't teach someone to use their left hand at old age. Those ones have enjoyed those privileges. Be involved not just as husbands and lord and master over their family, but to be involved as, the loving human beings they're supposed to be. Share in the chores of the home, whatever the strengths and weaknesses of each of whether the man or the woman is, to complement each other. They struggle. I have seen a lot of African men, and sometimes I laugh and I feel sorry for them, because when you see them come to the West, they are struggling psychologically. One of the battles they fight first is when they come. It is a situation where they have to. You want a woman to do this for you, and the woman is not obligated to do this for you, regardless of whatever relationship you have. So, in in order for our societies to be able to function and develop to the point where we can also compete favorably at international levels, it is important that the young men that are coming up in societies begin to understand these things are not, they don't make you lesser of a man. You're not a rapper because you helped your wife or your girlfriend or your whatever it is. You're not a woman rapper. That narrative, that mindset has to change so that they stop struggling. Because some of the reasons why we're not succeeding is because that they are conditioned to believing that a man must not do this, a man must not do this kind of job. Or where I come from Rivers State. I will tell you, my Rivers men have to struggle with identity, because there's a certain kind of job that is available, but a Rivers man is too proud and he cannot take that kind of job. And then you find your years passing by because you're looking for that job that makes you look like a king, and that job never comes, and you're struggling, you're begging, people are giving you stuff, you're living off other people. These are the things that need to change. I wish I can just put it in everybody's head. Like, it's not a big at the end.
I can totally relate with you as somebody who is from Edo State. I mean, it's South. It feel like say they are our blood. That's the way they are. You find men who rather sit down and loaf around and do nothing rather than take certain jobs, because they feel that these jobs, oh no, they can't come down to doing this job. If it's not a white collar job, they're not going to do it and all of that. And then you find out that a lot of time they have so much problem. And then that's the reason why you find in that part of the country, the women, you're usually very strong. Women from the Niger Delta, women, South Side women, we're always very strong, because you have to take in a lot of things, because the men are feeling too proud to do so many things, and then women get sucked into doing a whole lot of things. But one of the things that beyond the older generation, the people who are fighting so hard to keep patriarchy today is actually the younger generation men. I see a lot of them, when I come, especially on social media, I see their attitude, I'm laughing, I'm like, hey, you guys, they will set you to Patrick setting. I mean, where your parents had, your mothers had paid and your fathers had paid to set you, the counterparts you're coming with, your generation of women will set you back. Because what has happened is that they want to enjoy that entitlement that their fathers had. And so a lot of them are having a lot of identity crisis, like you rightly referred to. So they still want to sit down in the sitting room, and then women, their partners will bring food and keep it on their table for them. You find out that sometimes a man has no job, is the woman who is working, and she's paying all the bills in that family. She's the breadwinner, and she goes to work for money. She comes back maybe 5, 6, some even like those who are bankers come out later than that. And when they come home, they still have to enter the kitchen and cook. For a man who has been at home all day and he doesn't do anything, sometimes even before they go for their jobs, they have to cook food, lunch for him. That is absurd. As a man, you're not working, you're in the house. Please, when I come back, I need to meet food on the table. It's as simple as that. And it doesn't take anything away from you. It's about partnership. It's about doing who is available to do the cooking, who is available to you are. So do it. It's only common sense. And then you expect a woman comes in. And one of the things I said to them that men have agreed to the fact that women are paying bills. Women are taking part because the financial burden today, especially in Nigeria, where for you to have a decent life, you must have certain amount of money. Women are putting paying this bills and helping to pay bills, but yet the men are refusing to help take responsibility of the home because they, in their own way, it's the woman's job. There's nothing like it's a woman's job. There is no woman that was born with pot in her hand. There was no woman that came to this world with spoon in her hand or broom or apron or whatever. So there are no jobs that are women's job. Job is the only thing that you can say it's a woman's job. It's carrying a child. And when that child comes out, hey, it's our job to look after it. Like I mentioned earlier, my husband, as a young couple, he would bathe the kids. He would put them. I mean, period when we didn't have people to wash, he will iron their clothing. I hate to iron. In the last 20 something years, I haven't ironed. If I have anything, I'd rather look at it. Oh yeah, we have people who do it. When we didn't have anybody who did, he did it. It didn't change anything in him. I spent about a year in UK. I came back, I returned back to Nigeria in September. I left Nigeria in September just to be, although a couple of times I was coming in and going back, just to be with my daughter and get her settled in school. And my husband had visited us around October ending. He even reminded me, was it yesterday, that, oh, by this time last year, we were all in Aberdeen with my daughter. And so when he visited us, we wake up in the morning, my husband would have, he's a morning person, like I said. He washes the plate, he has done that, we make his breakfast. When we wake up, we'll do the rest. And my husband is 6 foot, he's over 6 foot. In short, I'm the only person in my family who is not, he's about maybe 6'5" or 6'6". He's huge, he's big. It doesn't take anything away from him. The fact that he washed the plates were there, they had been used maybe the night before something. He would just clean them up. He would just sweep the whole thing. And I remember when he left, when he went back to Nigeria, and the first few days, myself and my daughter were like looking at each other. Why is there plate in the sink? Because daddy would have already washed it, and then we had to adjust ourselves, and we really missed him. That's how you bond with your family, you bond with your children. I mean, my kids, if you see my kids and my husband, they're so close. And this is somebody who, he has never laid hands on his children. He has never beaten his daughter. He has never beaten his son. So he validates them. He makes them feel cold. I mean, he calls his daughter queen. He calls her princess. He takes care of her. I don't know why these men feel that, oh, they have to be, and I respect him so much. I don't want anything that will make him feel as if, oh, I don't respect him or I don't value him, because he gives that respect and I reciprocate it. He's not trying to come and say, oh, you must do this, or you must. No, he's never been that kind of a person. He's someone who is loving. And guess what? He gets love back 1,000-fold. And everybody just does what, like I said earlier, what is their strength to do. It's not about, oh, when it comes to financial literacy, when it comes to investment, when it comes to, I'm the one who is strong there, and I'm the one, we all do it together. And guess what? The family is better for it. And I think most people should just understand that, look, your gender means nothing. Like I said to men who are so arrogant, sometimes they come to my time, and I said to them, walk into a bank and say that because you are a man, you're looking for a loan. Whether your manhood will be your collateral, nobody is going to give you money. So drop it somewhere and just live. Let's live as human beings.
Wow, I must first of all say, husband, he reminds me of the kind of life I as well. I grew up as a very rebellious young girl. I was quite rebellious. I don't want to talk about my stories, but I learned over time to begin to fine tune my rebellion to add value to other people's lives and to society. I grew up not afraid of course, I got beaten a lot. I got really flogged. But it never stopped me in the way I feel. So I know what you're talking about. And I'm also blessed with a man like, so we all have our strength and weakness. Not every woman is blessed with this sort of blessing of how allow you to be, so to speak, and just have a voice. I'm just going to take read, and I will tell you I will come up with the last question, and then there's a lot of comments, some of them pretty long. What is it? Some of them are quite funny. Inko says, correct about the issue of identity crisis. And Helen D, she's watching from the US. She's women are strong women, oh, and she's laughing. And I have Empress Ebiere Joseph Akonwa says, boys are not taught multitasking virtuous things at home like their female counterparts. So this is a strength the African Nigerian woman has naturally as honored that she can take with her into any kind of leadership position. Yes, I'm going to hold that there because I'm going to come back to what she had just said. And of course, love, she also says love and respect is earned for reciprocation. Nkosazana says, the way I see this is as it has to be solved from the family unit. Dismantle patriarchy from the home as patriarchy, like racism is a learned behavior, then transferred to communities and general society. Both men, fathers, and women, mothers, have a responsibility to undo the legacy of toxic masculinity. Our African culture has further entrenched patriarchy. We need to unlearn it by dismantling it in our kids and in our generation. And she says, good speech, Aisha. Yes. And so finally, going back to what they said, because we're, as African women, children, girls, growing up, we're given such responsibilities of taking care of the home that multitasking at a very tender age. And that is something we can carry into the future in leadership positions that the men are not equipped with. So your final words, how do we now, with all this information that we have here, talk to Nigerian women, talk to African women, how to take activism, how to take the mantle, how not to be given permission to go by her male counterpart to be able to effect change?
Okay. Thank you so much. Before I go to that question, I will just say that when you were recounting what it was for you growing up and how stubborn you were, it was just as if you were talking about me, and I knew I got those floggings. And for me, one of the things, and I'm sure it also have been so frustrating for my parents and every adult that was in my life, because I'm this kind of a child that I will never give you the pleasure to see me cry or be down. So when they're flogging me, I actually stand. And you finish flogging me, and when you're done, I'll just move away. Never will let it drop up. So that's how stubborn I was. And I remember, meeting my husband. After meeting my husband, he actually taught me how to actually apologize and say I'm sorry. I know with the kind of person he was, very humble person. If there's anything like, oh, are you angry? It's all of, I'm sorry and everything. And over time, of course, it washed over me, and which is something that I feel I can easily say I can apologize on issue. But before then, oh no, I would rather die than apologize, especially when I know I've not done anything wrong. Even as a child, it got me to a lot of trouble. Anyway, I just needed to just say that. So most importantly, I think in terms of how do we get the African woman, we need to start by empowering her. We need to start by ensuring that there's this thing about power, whether it comes for education, beyond education, and also when it comes from your financial capacity. These are what some of the things that have been systemically done to put women down, and we have to raise that. We have to keep talking. We have to be examples. And I see a lot of people who think that by being slaves to patriarchy, they're going to get something. Some women will come and they're attacking other women. Oh, why are you a feminist? Why are you this? A woman is supposed to be. I don't have any issue with anybody being what they want to be. As a woman or as a human being, choose your side. But don't come after other people who have decided they're not going to do what society has assigned to them. I refuse to live by the standards of society. The society has to adjust to my own standard, because I came here on my own. I didn't bring society along when I was coming. So I'm going to live my life the way I want it, so that when I go, I know I've done my own bit. And so everybody has that right. So what we need to do is to ensure education. What we need to do is to ensure empowerment. What we need to do is to ensure that we have that body, organizations where women can have a sense of belonging. We need to do a lot of talking. We need to use our power as our circle of influence and begin to let people know what they can do. And then, most importantly, we need to ensure girls are in school. Girls must be in school. Girls are not taken away, when it comes to early marriages and everything. And I know, especially in Nigeria, it happens more in the northern part of the country, where a lot of people use Islam, and that's so I don't even know how to use it. So heinous. They will use the fact that, the prophet had married one of his wives when she was quite young. They don't look at the fact that before even the consummation of that marriage, how long did it take? They don't look at the fact that the prophet married a woman who was about 15 years older than him. That was his first wife. It was even after she died, he married other wives. And every of the wives that the prophet had married, it was because of revelation and the fact that they had certain needs. Some of them were divorcees that within that Arab world, divorcees weren't married again, or they were widowed, and they would not marry the woman again. And some of these things were things that he had to do. It was only one woman that he married, that she was a young girl, and that happened to be Aisha. So when they use that example, they don't look at the father. Oh, are you the prophet? You're not the prophet. You're you. It's just like somebody coming out to say that, because Mary, the mother of Jesus, had Jesus without husband, and then it's good for everybody to start having. It means everybody has to start having kids without. Okay, no, not that the husband wasn't the father of Joseph, wasn't the father of Jesus. Now means that everybody has to now start having kids out of wedlock and say that Jesus was. No, that's not. These are prophets. And by the way, I know some people who don't get it. When you're talking about Jesus, that's Anabi Isa. In my own religion, he's part of our religion. And we have the Abrahamic religion and the Islam, Christianity and Judaism. We all have the same history and the same prophet. It's just that from time to time, people did not continue. For the Judaism, it stopped at Moses. For Christians, it stopped at Jesus, and then for Muslims, it stopped at Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these are some of these when they make these excuses and they are marrying little children. You're a pedophile. You're not trying to be like the prophet. The prophet started with a woman that was 15 years older than her. Have you ever married a woman 15 years older than you? The prophet was giving allowances to marry more than 4 wives. Are you giving allowance to marry more than 4 wives? So what are all of these? So they look for things that they will use to in a weird sort of way to keep up that power, disenfranchising the woman. And then when you marry off a girl at a very young age, 12, 13, you've disempowered her. No education, no financial anything. She's the mercy of one man. And then after a few years, he throws her away. He marries other women. So all of these things are fights that we must all begin to fight in terms of advocacy, awareness creation, and also in constitutional and systemic changes where we're ensuring that girls are allowed to be in school for at least 16 years or more, or for at least a certain 12, 14 years up to secondary school education. From 18 years, a girl should be able to make her own decision. And we need people who are bold, who we dare all of these religious fanatics that we have all over the place. And it's not just in the Islamic part, even in the southern part of the country, which a lot of people don't pay attention to. A lot of girls are being married off at a very young age. And so all of these things are things that we need to all come together and ensure that we are making sure they know what happened the way they have to do. So every one of us, like I always say, the education we have, it's not for us alone. It's for millions of others who didn't have the right, who didn't have the opportunity to get that education. And so we must also fight for our rights.
Right. I remember I said that it was the last question, but I apologize. There is someone who asked a question that I would like to really take. Samuel Ogunshola, watching from YouTube, he says, what are you about bride price?
I didn't get that. Okay, what's my opinion about bride price?
Someone.
Oh, okay, so yes. Yeah, okay. So in terms of bride price, for me basically, so for example, it depends on like when you're looking at religion, right? In terms of Islam, the when you're talking about marriage, bride price has to come into it, and then this bride price has nothing to do with large sum of money. I think the amount is quite small. what was it? I think it's less than 20,000. There are different rates that are being used at all times. And then, of course, there are even times where people you don't have money for bride price or whatever. A woman will just say, okay, memorize a portion of the Quran for her, and that's enough for bride price. So in terms of, because religion, you can't go and start changing those things. But when it comes to like bridal things, for me, there's no need for that. I don't have time. Who is going to come and then you're going to buy what for my daughter? Boxes of food and what? Please keep that. When you guys meet each other, when you're married and you want to do all of that, you can go. So in terms of, and you see all of these things where they will come with these big lists. I mean, families are making lists of making money or whatever of their daughters, buying lists, all of these things that for me personally, there's absolutely, I don't see, and there's no need for it. And it's not something that I'm ever interested in partaking in that. I've lived a life whereby like I said earlier, I've always lived life based on my own terms. I remember when myself and my husband were getting married, and then the things, all those bridal things that he bought. Normally, what you have is that, certain family member of his family will bring their. We just carried it there ourselves. We did our own. Just say this was it, and we bought the things that not based on what people wanted, but what we could afford, and that was what we wanted to buy. I remember a friend of mine, when they came for the wedding, they were like, "Oh, he only bought 5 wrappers." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what you can afford, and I'm okay with that." So it's none of anybody's business. So for me personally, when it comes to bridal things, I think we should just do away with all of that. It's something that we need to do away with. When it comes to bride price in itself, there are certain religions that it's mandatory in it, and it doesn't have to be much. It's just something that it's good and given to the woman. But in terms of bridal things, really, for me, honestly, personally, do away with it. There's no need for that.
Absolutely. Just on a lighter note, I remember getting married, my traditional marriage. I had one of my aunties, my dad's older sister. My beloved auntie. I love her so much because I look like I'm her biological daughter. That's how, and we were so close at some point. But she's not so educated. And when my called the bride price, she called for some ridiculously amount of money, and then when they were going on about it, I wanted to talk. My mom said, "Shut up! You're not supposed to be talking now. It's the duty of the women to talk." And I said, "Please, I have to say something." And I said to them, "You people better not take any amount of money I can't pay back, just in case I don't want to be in a marriage again." Because you guys will piece the money, and then if I say I don't want to do again, I want to be able to have that money to give back. So so on a lighter note, and finally, the reason why we and finally, the reason why we must make sure that more women are in the house. Some of the things we have talked about, having these people who make the laws refusing to criminalize some of these things, put to law, bring up bills, put to law that it is a criminal offense for you to marry a little child in the name of whatever. If we don't get ourselves as women in those chamber positions, we cannot lobby them to put these to put into law things that they don't believe, they don't want. And until we get to that point where we understand that we must be there as women representatives, as senators, not just in 1%, 2%, 3%, but as much as possible, 50-50 or even over, so we begin to enact laws that favor us as Afric. And so on that note, what else can I say? If you have any more words to add, please do, and we'll call it a day.
Okay, thank you so much, Susan, for having me. It's actually been fun, and I'm so glad that you didn't give up when you were having those technical issues. And we've really been able to have a great conversation. Thank you so much for that. Like you did say, of course, women have to ensure that they get into power. You cannot expect men to legislate on women issue when they are not being affected by it. They would not understand. So women must go from being the ones that are used in politics to mobilize, to be the ones to clap and dance and sing, to be the ones to sew uniform. They must leave that role and begin to get to the role of the decision making. And every woman must insist on doing that. Above all, before I go, I would just say that, look, as a woman, you do not need permission from anybody to leave. You do not need permission to be yourself. Live your life. Be who you are. Every one of us, we have a moral compass in us. Let that moral compass guide us. Don't throw your life away because you want the society to label you good. Because at the end of the day, whatever you do, society will always talk. So it's much better you have fun, you do what pleases you, and the society talk, rather than you do what displeases you and the society still talks. Thank you so much for having me.
Still talks. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll speak to you later. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, guys, you guys have listened to Aisha Yesufu talk, and there was not one moment that was a dull moment. You know, like she said, when she came into this world, she came alone. She didn't come with society. She didn't come with a community. She came alone. As women, as African women, as Nigerian women, use your voice. Don't be afraid of using your voice. If for any reason you feel like you're afraid right now, is because you are not financially empowered. So begin to think of ways to empower yourself. Do not wait for a wealthy man to come and marry you. Do not wait for a wealthy boyfriend to come and take you to that place, regardless of what your background is. Once you learn a skill, once you learn the habit of turning 1 naira into 2 naira, and you begin to appreciate, and you become smarter in the way you judiciously spend money, not buying Louis Vuitton, all the designer things, or competing with other women in society to wear heavy gold all around your body, yet you cannot. There's nothing there for you to fall back on in your bank account. But once we begin to change our minds, okay? Once we begin to change our minds and we empower our pockets, then we'll definitely realize that we always had a voice. We just didn't understand that we had a voice because our pockets were empty. Learn a skill, do something. Don't wait. Don't wait for any man. Don't. When I'm talking about man, I'm talking about man as a male gender. Don't stop waiting as African women for a man to empower you before you're empowered. The heavens above us, the same sun, the same rain that God has made falls on both man and woman. He's given us the world to go and conquer. And when he said it in the Bible, if you're a Christian, he didn't say these words were meant for the male creatures only. Okay? So let's begin to empower. If there are things you need to learn, for ways, look for mentors, look for people who will teach you how to do it. Learning a skill right now is the best you can do for yourself. What are those things you're gifted and talented? What are those things that in your natural ability you can do? You can go and look for a way to refine, and let's begin to empower ourselves. Because when we do have money, we definitely know that we have a voice, and we can use those voices that we have to effect social change. All right? And will listen to us because they want our monies. And then we can begin to, they will begin to lobby us. It's time. Okay? So it's been upping you guys. And make sure that if you haven't liked and followed us or subscribed to our channel on YouTube, that you do so. All right? Let's make point of duty to share this broadcast even after the broadcast is ended. All right? I will reveal who our next guest is going fully. I will not have to deal with the situation like I did today. I changed provider and this new one is not behaving well. But thank goodness, I am going to be calling them and changing and counseling their contract with me. And I'm going to look for the one because what they did to us today is but I'm happy that you stayed throughout the broadcast, and I do love you. God bless you. Remember, Africa Rise with Susan West is going places. And as we go on, I'm going to keep opening up and announcing where those places are. Thank you so much. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And when you do, please press the bell button. I love you. God bless you. And take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.